facilities, constructed roads and housing units to enhance productivity. Mr. Rada, represented by the Commissioner of Works and Housing, Mr. Sani Ingawa, said infrastructural development was critical to the overall well-being of the citizenry. The National Coordinator, Institute of Stress Management, Mr. Friedrich Obidigwe, who expressed concern of the psychological impact of the economic challenges on the citizens, emphasized the need for integration of stress management in public health policies.
Stress causes a lot of diseases like blood pressure, more than 16 to manage all these kind of diseases. There is a lot of infrastructure.
Mr. Obidigwe said the following was to raise awareness and ways to equip people with critical skills to cope with stress.
Motivating individuals is very essential. Right now, more than 60% of civil servants are not happy. They say, I'm tired about this work. The work schedule is not commensurate with the time. People go to work around 10 and go back to the houses around 2. The economic hardship. That makes their effort in service delivery come lower.
Stakeholders in disability matters have called for improved accessibility to all public structures for persons with disabilities, PWDs. They made a call at an event to mark the International Wheelchair Day, organized by the Association of Accessibility Professionals and the Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Disability Matters. Godson Elekwachi brings details.
The stakeholders were of the general opinion that the fundamental principles of inclusion, equality and dignity should guide the society. The Executive Director, Association of Accessibility Professionals, Mr. Yusuf Iyodo, said the day provided an opportunity to ensure commitment of government and the private sector to accessibility, inclusivity, as well as availability of adaptive and assistive aids for PWDs.
We are committed to ensuring that accessibility becomes a fundamental priority in the urban planning, infrastructure development, and service delivery across Nigeria.
The Vice President, National Association of Persons with Physical Disabilities, Ambassador Betty Mube, advocated the elimination of all forms of discriminations against PWDs.
Disability rights are human rights. Imagine a hospital that is not accessible to a pregnant woman who is a wheelchair user. A hospital where there are no sign language interpreters to a deaf pregnant woman who goes for antenatal. A school where there are no sign languages for a deaf child. Imagine a Nigerian school where there are no access to structures to the classroom for children who are wheelchair users.
Another leader in the disability community and a publisher, Mr. Chris Agbo, explained that persons with disabilities could also make meaningful contributions to the society without any form of sympathy.
Wheelchair is our life. They should not use wheelchair as an object of charity. Using wheelchair as an object of charity further reinforces the discrimination that we are facing. Great access for us. Persons on a wheelchair can actually be men of God. They can also preach at the pulpit. Nothing stops them from being preachers. Nothing stops us from being engineers. Already we have people who are doctors, who are engineers, but they are not being productive the way they should because the entire society has not created access for them.
Yes.
The event also featured a roadwork and a training session of accessibility and inclusivity of PWDs in all sectors of the society. In Abuja, Godson Elekwachi, Radio Nigeria.
You are listening to the News Order Network service of Radio Nigeria. In the headlines, former Senate President calls for investigation into allegations against Godswill Akpabio. Federal government commences reconstruction of Alao Dam. Still to come, correspondent samples divergent views of Nigerians on Education Loan Fund. Callers in Radio Link advocate extensive sensitization of climate change. Plus, sports, the commentary, cyberscape, newspaper headlines, and weather report. Please stay with us.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
As part of its financial literacy and public enlightenment mandate, the Bankers Committee has come up with the 2025 MSME radio show. The objectives is to deepen MSME understanding of the evolving changes in the subsector, business strategies for growth and various national and international policy, financial experts from deposit money banks, development partners, regulatory institutions and successful entrepreneurs would arm listeners with premium financial knowledge. Tune in to the network service of Radio Nigeria between 5 to 6 p.m. every Monday. Topics to be covered are cashless policy and alternative payment channels, contactless payment options, sourcing FX, agency banking, raising capital and cross-border trade. To find out more or register, visit www.smegrowth.ng on Facebook and Instagram at Bankers Committee, FLPE.
Every day, children across the globe suffer abuses of their human rights, which violates the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children.
For children living on the streets, it is almost impossible obtaining these rights. Rights like getting access to clean water, nutrition, basic social amenities, physical and psychological protection remains a dream.
How have we fared as far as the welfare of our children is concerned?
Join us every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. on the network service of Radio Nigeria as we beam our light on Street Children. Street Children, giving voice to the voiceless
and hope to the hopeless.
Remember, every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. on the network service of Radio Nigeria.
Don't miss it.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Thanks for staying with us. Students in tertiary institutions in River State have expressed divergent views towards the student loan scheme initiated by the federal government. While some students assumed that the Nigerian Education Loan Fund is another avenue for the government to enslave students, others welcomed the initiative, which they termed as a shift from the norm. Divine Apapa interacted with some students on the scheme.
The reintroduction of the student loan scheme by President Bola Tinubu's administration to reduce financial burden on indigent students has generated mixed reaction from both students and members of the academic community. A student of River State University, Norwich Moses, while welcoming the student loan scheme, stated that it offers a lifeline for those struggling to fund their education and also serve as a stepping stone for a brighter future.
The loan can provide opportunities for students from low-income backgrounds to continue their education without fear of financial setback.
Another student, Raymond Paul, emphasized that education is an investment and without proper planning, graduates will find it a bit difficult to repay the loan. He urged those who seek to obtain the fund to be decisive not to waste the opportunity.
I think the student loan is a beautiful idea by the federal government. It's been happening in many countries, in the UK, America. There are a lot of people out there who can go to school because of finances. It will actually help. So all those who actually need it, I would advise them to go for it. And I pray that the federal government will be open and transparent to actually give to those who need it.
However, Miriam Njoko and Solomon Harrod liken the student loan to be a form of economic enslavement, arguing that the repayment structure could keep graduates in a circle of financial struggle if without a good job.
Aside the fact that I have sponsors and guardians that hugely helped me, the major reason for not applying for the student loan is because I see a chain reaction of debt, because basically in this country, more graduates 100% settle on a job after school.
I think it's a form of slavery because once you're done with school, you have to start paying a whole lot of money, so you work and pay.
As the discussion continues, the students appealed to government for the removal of all bottleneck associated with the loan scheme to make it more accessible and affordable for all students. In Port Harcourt, Divine Apapa, Radio Nigeria.
Callers on Radio Link, a Radio Nigeria audience participatory program, have called for sustained public awareness on climate change and its negative impact on health and the environment. One of the callers, Abubakar Musa from Bida in Niger State, urged government agencies to collaborate with one another to increase the level of awareness on climate change and devise more ways to enhance afforestation to tackle the problem.
There is need for Minister of Environment to come up with measures to increase afforestation in the country, planting a new tree, so that there will be enough trees in the system that will balance the ecosystem. And there is need for collaboration between our academic institutions in the area of research and development and investment. A lot of ideas will come up.
Another caller from Imo State, Chief Charles Obioha, emphasized the need for government and appropriate agencies to promote recycling and clean drainage.
Recycling of our materials such as sewage to water so that man can bring nature to its course.
Another caller from Gwagwalada in Abuja, Ismaila Garba, appealed to the federal and state governments to mitigate the impact of flooding on agrarian states caused by climate change.
I'm calling on government to look at these agrarian states that mostly climate change used to occur by way of floods that used to wash away people's farms.
Mr. Patrick Okoro from Arochukwu in Imo State stressed the need for funding and proper empowerment of environmental scientists in climate change. The federal government has been urged to intensify efforts and focus more on people-oriented projects to enable Nigerians to experience the dividends of democracy. The president of the Nigerian Baptist Convention, Reverend Israel Akonji, made this call in Abuja at the FCT Baptist Conference with the theme, Celebrating God Who Answers Prayers. Florence Adewale completes the report.
The President, Nigerian Baptist Convention, Reverend Israel Akonji, who commended President Bola Tinubu for his various reform programs, emphasized the need for collaborative efforts to ensure that government policies yield positive results that directly benefit Nigerians.
President Tinubu, I'm saying on behalf of Nigerians, we thank you for the great work you're taking. We thank him for the measures being taken, but more is needed to be taken. We want to say that will be continuous effort to make things easy for people.
The president of the FCT Baptist Conference, Reverend Dogara Gwana, stressed the importance of Christians living a holy life to attract divine intervention.
Our prayers, who answers them, but the Bible also tells us that he is too holy than to behold iniquity. And therefore, we encourage our members to be in the place that God will be pleased with them, and then when they pray, we can be sure that God answers prayer.
Similarly, Reverend Tom Takpatori of First Baptist Church, Garki, urged Nigerians to remain steadfast in prayers for the nation to overcome its challenges.
Our theme this year is that we should join our hearts together, go on our knees, cry unto God who answers prayer, to pray for our nation, trusting Him, holding on to God and faith that God will intervene in our nation.
Mrs. Ronke Kehinde of the Women's Wing and her male counterpart, Reverend Kehinde Ogunsanya, pledged to continue teaching and modeling members to be good ambassadors of the country. In Abuja, Florence Adewale, Radio Nigeria.
The Catholic Archbishop of Jos Diocese, the Most Reverend Ishaya Audu, wants Christians to erect structures that will be used to serve God. The Most Reverend Ishaya Audu stated this at the commissioning of the parish office building of St. Fimbus Catholic Church, Jos, by the chairman, Shandam Local Government Area, Kemi Nshe. Mr. Nshe said the church played a very important role in his growth as a Christian, hence the decision to give back to the church. In their separate remarks, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Gabriel Dewan, and the State Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, Musa Ashams, thanked God for the renovation of the building, making the office conducive for the Reverend Father to operate. The verdict of the Supreme Court in Abuja affirming Martins Amefule and 26 others as valid members of the Real Estate House of Assembly has elicited reactions. Former chairman of Andoni Local Government Area, Dr. Gogo Ogute Isaiah, says he accepts the ruling of the Apex Court but notes that it is not over yet, as the fundamental issue of defection of the lawmakers from People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress is still in court.
the very fundamental issue that will have given the Supreme Court reason to decide whatever they decide has not been before the Supreme Court. And that is the constitutional issue we are talking about. If really a member of the Rivers State House of Assembly, the battle is not yet over. We must respect the Constitution.
The President, River State Ethnic Youth Leaders Council, Ipalibo Madodoye, says Rivers youth will continue to believe in the governor and will not be lured into violence.
Do not allow anybody, anywhere, under any guise to fan the embers of war. Anybody who is fanning the embers of war or who is preaching violence right now under any guise in Rivers State is a crisispreneur, and we must be very careful. We must pray for our leaders, especially the governor of our state, and we must continue to believe in the tranquility, the progress, and the advancement of Rivers State.
Meanwhile, the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, has called for a review of the Supreme Court judgment on the seizure of allocations for River State. On the contrary, the Iowa Youth for Peaceful Coexistence have commended the Supreme Court's recent rulings on the political crisis in River State, describing the verdict as a victory for democracy and the rule of law. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja, the group's national president, Mr. Bature Haruna, emphasized that the February 28th judgment reaffirmed constitutional governance by nullifying the state's local government elections, affirming the legitimacy of the 27 lawmakers led by Martin Amehu and reserving its ruling on the defection case. The group stressed that all legislative actions taken by the four-man assembly, including budget approvals and appointments, are now invalid and called on Governor Siminalayi Fubara to respect the court's decision and restore democratic governance in the state. Mr. Haruna condemned the prolonged sidelining of the River State House of Assembly and warned against any attempts to undermine the judgment or suppress duly elected representatives. Also speaking, the LCT chapter coordinator of the group, Mr. Mark Oga, called on all Nigerians to remain vigilant in protecting the country's democratic system. According to the group, the Supreme Court's ruling is expected to have significant implications for the political landscape in River State as stakeholders await further legal developments. Still on a legal matter, a former Attorney General of Imo State and Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Chukwuma Machukwume, has written a letter to President Bola Tinubu to facilitate the unconditional release of the detained leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, as part of efforts to restore peace in the southeast region of the country. Mr. Machukwume, who is also the rapporteur, Victims of Persecution, pleaded that the early release of Nnamdi Kanu will not be a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of political wisdom and statesmanship by the president. In the open letter to President Tinubu entitled "Healing the Wounds in Our Nation-Building Efforts and Marching Nigeria Towards a New Sustainable Nation," the senior counsel drew the attention of the president to Kanu's travails dating back to October 14, 2015, and expressed worry that the IPOB leader was fast becoming a prisoner of conscience. Mr. Machukwume added that the early release of Kanu will present an opportunity to turn a new page in the nation's history, one that prioritizes peace, justice, and the collective well-being of all citizens. According to Mr. Machukwume, the letter has been received by the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, on behalf of the President. The Federal Polytechnic Bidda, Niger State, has commenced the teaching and learning of artificial intelligence and other technological innovations. Director of the institution, Dr. Haruna Baba Aliyu, made this known at the 2024-2025 academic session matriculation. Correspondent Isaac Omediji reports that the Polytechnic is also planning to introduce more courses to meet the technological needs of the country.
Director Dr. Babaruna said the time has come for polytechnics to be more focused on their mandate to transform the nation's scientific and technological space. He noted that the institution has embarked on many researches capable of proffering solutions to some of the challenges facing the country. The rector, who was represented by the Deputy Rector Academics, Dr. Abubakar Shehu, explained that currently the Polytechnic runs over 70 accredited courses and is planning to commence a School of Earth Sciences before the end of this session.
Polytechnic, as usual, impact on verification of results. Therefore, all your entry results were verified to ascertain their authenticity and validity. Where results are found to have been falsified, our laws stipulate that such students will be expelled accordingly.
The rector maintains that the mission of the Polytechnic was to achieve the vision of the current government in the education sector by ensuring the production of quality and employable graduates. He assured the Polytechnic community that its standards against courtism, examination malpractices, and cybercrime, among others, remain strong.
This growing quality perhaps explains why the Federal Polytechnic Bida has consistently been rated 50th best polytechnic in Nigeria by different stakeholders.
Over 5,000 students matriculated at the event. In Bida, Isaac Omidiji, Radio Nigeria.
And now sports. Sunshine Stars beat Kwara United in Nigeria Premier League Football League as Kenya and Ethiopia athletes dominate third ECOWAS Abuja International Half Marathon, with a Nigerian making the nation proud in the 5-kilometer category. Alamo Antoya brings us up to speed with happenings in the fascinating world of sports.
Sunshine Stars defeated Kwara United 4-2 in a seesaw 6-goal thriller of March the 27 action in the Nigerian Premier Football League at the Ekene Stadium on Saturday. Amadu Liman, who registered a hat-trick, had given the Akure side a lead on 12 minutes, but Adeshi Ogata restored parity 10 minutes later before Washiu Alade shot the Lauren-based team in front on 28 minutes, while Sahid Olaniyi had an own goal 4 minutes later to bring the tie to 2-2. Liman scored 2 more on 1 minute in added time before half-time and got the other 2 minutes into the second half to secure victory for the Akure Gunners. The win took Sunshine Stars to 16th position with 31 points, while the Afonja Warriors remain in 11th spot with 36 points. Meanwhile, 6 games will be played today in continuation of March the 27th in the NPFL. Kano Pillars clash with champions Rangers, Abia Warriors battle Nasra United, Bayelsa United test their might against Bendel Insurance as Ikorodu City face off with Heartland, while Niger Tornadoes tango with Eimba, with leaders Remo Stars playing host to Plateau United. Tomorrow, 3 ties will be decided, including a clash of third versus second when Shooting Stars take on Rivers United, Aqua United confront Katsina United, while Ekanemi Warriors welcome relegation-threatening Lobby Stars. Remo Stars top the standings with 51 points, Rivers United and Shooting Stars are second and third with 42 points each. Lobby Stars are bottom with 23 points, Aqua United are 19th with 24, while Nasra United occupy 18th spot with 27 points. Kenya's Harrison Wanjiru has emerged winner of the men's category of the 2025 ECOWAS Abuja International Marathon, clocking a time of 1 hour 04.39 seconds. To cut home the $10,000 star prize on his heels was his compatriot Suleiman Muhammad, who came second in a time of 1 hour 0.527 seconds, while Nigeria's France James crossed the line in a time of 1 hour 05.51 seconds to finish third. In the women's category, Ethiopia's Lindia Wamalawa topped other contenders in a time of 1 hour 15.3 seconds to clinch the $10,000 top prize. A fellow Ethiopian Aberesh Misewo was second in a time of 1 hour 17.14 seconds. And like in the men's race, Nigeria's Patience Dillok from Plateau State finished in a time of 1 hour 21.15 seconds to clinch the bronze medal. In the 5-kilometer event, Nigerians dominated after 12-year-old Sunday Dagian from Plateau State emerged the winner, finishing a time of 17 minutes 25.77 seconds, while his compatriot Vivian Obadiah crossed the line in a time of 20 minutes 10.11 seconds to come first in the women's category. In a later overall winner, Harrison Wanjiru attributed his victory to constant training.
Have been training hard in Kenya, have not challenged.
For the Nigerian Francis James, third place was not a bad outing, but he is looking forward to dethroning the usual suspects from East Africa who dominate long distance race at the expense of Nigerians.
If Nigeria supporters us, we can beat these Kenyans. But they are coming up. I'm ready to beat these Kenyans. But go back home. I'm going to work harder.
Chairman of the National Sports Commission, Alamshehu Diko, said the NSC had mapped out plans to alter foreign dominance in marathon in the nearest future.
Long distance races should be part of our low-hanging fruits. because we have the talent, we have the capacity, we have the areas in the country like Jos, Taraba, have people to train properly and be able to compete globally. So the talent that we can take and promote and develop for the future. We want to see everything possible to push.
Director Youth and Sports Development Ambassador Francis Njoagwani was satisfied with the third edition of the ECOWAS Abuja International Marathon, adding that this year's event had raised the bar beyond the last two.
First edition, second edition, third edition, obviously we expect to see some improvements, not just in the organization, but also in the turnout. And I think by all standards, this is a better organized event.
The over 21-kilometer ECOWAS Abuja International Marathon, which coincides with ECOWAS 50th anniversary, began from the ECOWAS Commission in Abuja and returned to finish in the same location with thousands of athletes who competed for the prize pool of $71,000 that was shared among the winners ranging from the 1st to the 10th. In England, it's FA Cup fifth-round games taking place. On Saturday, Manchester City defeated Plymouth Argyle 3-1 to qualify for the quarter-finals. Earlier, Crystal Palace spanked Millwall 3-1. Preston North End humbled Burnley 3-0 as Bournemouth triumphed 5-4 on penalties over Wolves after both sides split 1-1 in regulation and extra time to reach the quarter-finals for only the third time in their history, the Vitality Stadium. Today, Newcastle will take on Brighton. Manchester United face off with Fulham, while tomorrow we'll see Nottingham Forest battling Ipswich Town. In the Italian Serie A, the top of the table clash between Napoli and Inter Milan ended 1-1 as Inter remain leaders with 58 points, one ahead of the men from Naples. In the German Bundesliga, Nathan Teller was among the scorers as champions Bayer Leverkusen thrashed Eintracht Frankfurt 4-1 away. In the Spanish La Liga, Real Betis pipped Real Madrid 2-1 with rivals Barcelona playing at home this afternoon with Real Sociedad. Carlo Ancelotti's men remain on 54 points, same as Barca, who could increase their point haul with a victory and continue in pole position. I am Alambo Datoni.
And from sports, we'll move on to the commentary, which is on the task before labor unions in the face of economic hardship confronting workers. It is written by Sandra Odike of our Current Affairs unit.
In the face of mounting economic challenges, the role of labor unions in Nigeria has become more critical than ever. With inflation soaring, fuel subsidy removals driving up living costs, and unemployment remaining a persistent issue, millions of Nigerians look up to unions to champion their cause and negotiate better working conditions and economic relief. The need for proactive, purposeful leadership within labor organizations cannot be overstated. Since the removal of fuel subsidies in 2023, transportation costs and commodity prices have skyrocketed, significantly eroding the purchasing power of ordinary citizens. Inflation rates have increased and food security continues to plague many families. Against this backdrop, labor unions are expected to advocate policies that protect workers and provide social safety nets for the vulnerable. Throughout Nigeria's history, labor agitations have often forced government action on critical issues. For example, the 2010 minimum wage increase, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC led negotiations that resulted in the federal government raising the national minimum wage from 7,500 naira to 18,000 naira. In 2018 fuel price protests, labor unions successfully pressured the government to halt abrupt hikes in fuel prices, demonstrating the power of collective action in curbing anti-people policies. In 2021, at the endorsement of palliatives for COVID-19 relief during the pandemic, labor unions engaged the government to secure wage protections and stimulus packages for workers affected by lockdown measures. Labor leaders must now adopt innovative strategies that prioritize meaningful dialogue with government officials while keeping workers informed and engaged. Proactive steps must include negotiation for wage adjustments. That is, the unions should push for a realistic increase in the national minimum wage to match current inflationary pressures. They should also be involved in monitoring of palliative distribution in the country. In other words, labor unions must ensure transparency and accountability in government relief programs to prevent corruption. Advocacy for employment generation is also another area labor unions should look into. The unions can collaborate with the private sector to advocate job creation initiatives and vocational training programs for unemployed youths. To do these successfully, the Nigerian labor unions must remain united and steadfast in their commitment to serve in the interest of workers and the masses. Strikes and protests must be employed cautiously and should be seen as a last resort, while prioritizing constructive engagement and sustainable solutions. By rising to their duties and forging a stronger alliance with civil society, labor unions can help the country navigate its economic challenges and secure a better future for its people.
That commentary on the task before labor unions in the face of economic hardship confronting workers was written by Sandra Odike and read by Mariam Okesanjo. And that takes us to Cyberscope, bringing you the latest trends lighting up Nigeria's social media space. We'll begin with the Edo Central Senatorial by-election, which is talking of the town as a major political figures battle for the Opebolo Senate seat, with alliances forming, the strategies unfolding the hashtag Edo Central 2025. This is echoing across X and Facebook. Political analysts and netizens are dissecting the power play, party intrigues and voter expectations leading up to the big day. Well, we always say that the most important thing in elections is to go out and exercise your franchise. Make sure you vote. Once the heartbeat of entertainment and leisure, Lagos nightlife is struggling to stay alive. That is next. Many reports suggest economic challenges have hit bars, clubs and event spaces hard. The conversation is hot online as citizens share their experiences of rising costs, fewer outings and an overall shift in lifestyle. That remains important. Change in lifestyle. It's a big year for Nigerian sports. Athletes are gearing up for the African Games and FIBA Afro Basket 2025. But all eyes are on D Tigers, Nigeria's women's basketball team, after their record-breaking run at the 2024 Paralympics. Fans are hoping for another historic moment. The hashtags D Tigers Afro Basket 2025 are buzzing, with supporters hyping up the team's potential. We wish them the best of luck. And activists and economists are demanding the implementation of the Orosai report to cut down Nigeria's excessive governance expenses. The conversation is gaining traction as Nigerians call for leaner, more effective leadership. And that's a wrap for now. Stay connected with Radio Nigeria and keep the conversation going using the hashtag Cyberscope. Cyberscope was compiled by Tijani Ibrahim. And for newspaper headlines, I would begin with the leadership, as it says. Playing down politics of 2027, civil society organizations, others tell politicians. Apabio Natasha, Sarake calls for discreet probe to save Senate. Kidnapped Afenifere youth leader freed days after IGP's intervention. Details in the leadership. Next, still 329 million naira using images of BVN enrollment. With the not call for Fubara's impeachment, says Ohanese. Tax bills reflect public concerns before passage, stakeholders tell National Assembly. Pope Francis recovering, breathing stable, says Vatican. 33 world leaders back Ukrainian leader Zelensky after face-off with President Trump. Full report in the Punch. In the Tribune it has these. Tinubu eulogizes ex-Namibian President Najumo at burial ceremony. Nigeria needs grievance management to tackle rising conflict.